And just to name a few, so we will face a severe demographic change, so the people are getting older, there will be more older people and less younger people. So the old people are required to preferably live independently at home, and it would be very good if they could live at home almost alone, because we have not many young people that could care for the old people. There is a growing trend to prevent risks instead of to just cure diseases. We face problems such as growing obesity, more people that are addicted to substances such as nicotine or alcohol, and other issues connected to health and well-being. We have to make sure that also in the future we not only can produce secure, clean and efficient energy, but also make the people aware that they use the energy that they have in a very responsible way. Also, the transportation is an important topic. So there are a lot of projects and activities around autonomous cars and connected cars, cars that communicate with each other. So we really need to focus on an integrated solution for transport, and we have to reduce CO2 emissions in transport. And last but not least, we have to ensure that our societies are secure, both in the physical way, so we have to fight against terrorism, and also in a digital way. So we have to make sure that our personal and private data in the internet is secured. And what I claim is that we don't need more technology to face these challenges or to combat these challenges. I say most of the technology that is needed to face these challenges we already have. So I feel this term rise of the machine, so we don't need a scenario where one day the Terminators will come and fight us all. We need to develop technologies that can support humans in behaving better, in behaving in a more positive way. We need to induce behavior change, because I and we believe that there is more power in behavior change than we think or that we're aware of. And it's not about developing technologies that are so complex that the people are overwhelmed by the technologies. It is about developing technologies that can support people in attitude and behavior change. And basically, this is the concept of what we call behavior change support systems. So there are a lot of words for behavior change support systems. Some people call it persuasive technology, but this always has a slightly manipulating touch. So one word here, it's not about manipulating or nudging people, it's really about a behavior change that comes from a free will and not and is not forced externally. Behavior change support systems are technologies, interactive technologies, to change behaviors and also underlying attitudes. This is really important, as attitudes and behaviors are connected, but it's not always the way that if you just change your behavior, it does not mean that your attitudes will change. Because if I want you to just sit on your seat, I could just like put you there. So your behavior would be sitting there, but your attitude would be like, I want to get out of the room because that weirdo is keeping me on my seat. So it's important to understand that. Some examples for behavior change support systems from our ongoing research and development projects. So I will start with the more classical examples. So we have a project that's called MUSES, Multi-Platform Usable Endpoint Security, where we want to develop an IT system for organizations for securing digital information. And basically this works as a software for desktops and tablets and smartphones, but we're also experimenting with smartwatches to reward the people and to incentivize the people. This is known as the principle of gamification. So on the right you see a possible way to realize that with badges and points, but this is more or less only medium effective. So there are more effective ways to be able to make people aware of a problem or to change their behavior. The aim with points and badges, you know that from Foursquare, sorry, it's basically just to keep a little bit of motivation for the people to use the software longer. Another example, which is more powerful, is the simulation of consequences. So if you show people what the cause and effect of a behavior is, people will learn this link and probably not forget it. And if you induce them to this link more often, they will establish a harder link in their brain. So in this case, we conduct the Peacocks project, which develops a smartphone app that senses your CO2 emissions when you use different public transportation and also private transportation systems, such as tram, cars, or if you ride a bike, and it persuades you to use better transportation systems by means of CO2 emission by changing this tree that you see here. So, easy example, if you always drive by car, the tree will get smaller and will get brown. And if you often use public transport or the tram, the tree will really flourish and be really green and really big. And there are a lot of other features in this app. You can share your tree with your friends on Facebook, or you can set a goal that you want to have your tree grown to a certain advance in a week, and so on. Now, with the Internet of Things and wearable devices, we have a new era of behavior change support, because the examples that I presented you before are effective, but not as effective as they could be. So scientific studies have proven that the only really successful way to change behavior is to do it via suggestions that come in the right time and in the right place. So just in the moment when you want to induce a behavior change, you have to suggest it to the people. To frame it in a bit of a negative state, you have to grab and catch the people at their weakest point. So on the right you see examples or concepts that we experimented with in a project where it's about warning design. It's related to the project that aims at safeguarding information security at organizations. And this is just an easy flashlight system where you have a red, a yellow, and green standing for red, there's something going on, you should have a look, something is not right. Yellow, it could be okay, but we're not sure, and green, everything is all right. And to keep really close to this IoT paradigm, we like to introduce the technology in a really invisible way. So we're envisioning kind of just a really small ring, because a smartwatch might be too big for some people, or even displays at your fingertips, or even a nail polish that could change the color for the ladies. However, so there are a lot of estimations on how many devices in the Internet of Things there will be by the year 2016, 17, 18. And I read an estimation that there will be 75 billion connected devices in the Internet of Things by the year 2020. However, we get this big pile of data, and I like to use this buzzword big data just to have that in the talk. But we are not able, at the moment, we are not able to analyze the data in a meaningful way, and from the analyzed data to create meaningful interactions, which can fulfill the vision to provide opportunistic suggestions to people in the right time and in the right place. We already have all the sensors in rooms and in cars and in the streets that can track your behavior. We have this fitness trackers. We have a lot of other stuff, and we also have the devices. We have smartwatches that are in a more or less okay state, and that probably will the sales will go up this year, but we are not yet able to create really a meaningful user experience. Additionally, what most technology development projects and most companies don't realize is that people differ in a lot of dimensions. So people have not only a different sex or different age, so the obvious things, but people differ in their personality. And it's important that we must know behavior change support technology can only be effective when it is personalized to certain characteristics and to certain preferences. And to make that more visible or more graspable, I will give you an example. In another project which is called Gemplay, which is about gendered games for motivating physical activity, we employ at the moment, so this is running, a 4-step design process in which we just want to develop a technology that is a behavior change support system that aims at improving health of the people and that employs technologies such as fitness trackers and smartwatches that monitor people in an unobtrusive way and can give opportunistic suggestions to people to keep up activity and integrate physical activity into their daily life. The first thing, this might sound obvious, but in some projects this is not properly done. You have to really be sure who your target group is. So we're talking about games. However, in the project we don't want to target the ultimate player, the heavy player, because they might have different motivations to play games or to use games. It should be a game, but we especially want to target people that are not that interested in games. And of course, we don't want to tackle professional athletes. We want to tackle people that have problems with their health or that have problems with obesity. And the target behavior, it's really clear that it's really important that you define that clearly. It has to be the goal that people integrate physical activity deeply into their daily life. It should not be on the top. It should not feel like a pressure for the people, but they should perform a behavior change that really comes from within the people. We also want to change their attitudes, and we want them to get educated more about the consequences of doing sports, about the consequences if they don't do sports, and about the positive effects that sports can have. You have to understand, in this case, the customers. You can also say the users. In this case, we are relying on a large existing databases of preferences of people concerning sports and physical and the motivation to perform physical activities in their daily lives. And we found that there are sex or gender differences, not only in the reasons to conduct sport, but also in, there's a theory around player types, so that you might enjoy different game mechanics depending on your, let's say, personality. But we also find that the susceptibility of people to certain behavior change techniques differs. And to make it more concrete, I have the real data here of an online study that we did in Austria. So we found that men, rather than women, enjoy making social contacts when they're doing sports. So this is their main motivation for doing sports. And women rather, and this is a bit of a cliche, but like we found it in our data, want to change their body and want to reach a higher fitness level. Concerning the player types, men are more the conquerors and the daredevils that like to destroy things and like to keep up in challenges. And women are rather the achievers that like to collect things. Concerning the strategies, men rather prefer engaging in comparisons and competitions, and women like to have customized games and games that they can personalize. You now have to take that data and translate the knowledge that you gathered into adaptable interactions. So as an easy example, depending if you're a man or a woman, the game suggests you to either participate in comparisons or competitions or to customize your gamer experience. And then, of course, in the sense of a user-centered design process, you have to check if it works. Do experiments, do user studies, do usability tests, observe your users, and iterate the technology so that you will have a high user experience and a high technology acceptance. To conclude, so in my opinion, we have a lot of the wearable technology that we need to face the important societal challenges such as growing health problems. And we also have the knowledge how to make it work, basically summarized in these really basic four steps. So know who your customers or your users are, define the behavior that you want to have changed, gain a deep understanding of your customers through user research, design personalized interactions, and most important, before you introduce a technology into the market, check if it really works. Thank you very much. Questions?
Have you questions?
Don't be shy.
I think changing behavior is something that is really, really difficult for humans. So we used to stay as we are mostly of the time, and especially with technology, I see some probably problems. So that people are not so deeply willing to change behavior because of the technology. We don't know yet. But what I'm interested in what makes people change the behavior, or what makes people learning new technologies. So what are the factors of this to make this?
That's a large question. So you're right, behavior change support systems. So scientists claim they do work, but they do work like in a minimal way. Like when you expose a large number of people to these technologies and force them to use the technology over a long time, and they adopt the technology. And only when they adopt the technology, they will use it for a longer time. And this is like the most basic factor that allows behavior change. The two factors that drive technology adoption or technology acceptance are like, there are like 1,000 studies claiming it's the one factor is the perceived ease of use, so how easy to use is a technology, and the other factor is something a bit more trivial. It's the perceived usefulness. So how useful is the technology for the people? So you can have a technology that is really easy to use, but if it does not help you to fulfill your goal, whatever that is, you might not use it. So first we have to find it useful, and then it should be very usable. So the first goal is finding opportunities or possibilities to introduce technology that really helps people. So not just another platform, not just another app, but maybe skip the app and think of something else. Maybe it's something more, like I always like the technologies that you don't see, that are really more unobtrusive. So I once saw a really nice project trying to introduce behavior change to cycling behavior. They wanted the people not to go by car, but by bike. And beside the doors, they introduced 2 key holders. And whenever the people took the car key holder, the bike key fell off to the floor. And this was really, like, they showed some videos with users, and this was really annoying. But the interesting thing that happened is, it started a reflection process. Like, of course, people took it then, put it on the wall, but still went by car. But from time to time, they tried to cheat the system by just switching the keys. But then they just waited a moment, and you saw them thinking, okay, they cheated themselves. So it doesn't have to be effective in the first way, that if it starts a reflection process, if it makes people more aware, this is not the ultimate goal, but it's the first good step. So we're making small steps, but like in 100 years, we are there.
So I have a bit more personal question.
Yes.
What is an app or a device which helped you change habit and how?
That's really easy to answer. The app is called Quit Smoke, and it persuades you to quit smoking and it had all kind of behavior change techniques. It had statistics on how my lungs regenerate, on how my heart condition will go up after a certain amount of time, how much time I need to be not addicted physical anymore. Then how much money I saved. Then it had a chat function when you're getting weak. Then you could chat with other people who also get weak. Then they had horrifying pictures. What else? But this helped me to, like, sometimes I smoke one cigarette, but it's not that much as before. So I think it induced a behavior change. But it certainly induced an attitude change, because now I'm really more strict with smokers.
Just showing them the consequence of what will happen if they do smoking, and they will see what will happen in them in the future. Some information should be a visual or text or information.
There were different ways, but in the app that I used, you saw lungs before and after, and but it was not really interactive. So you just saw a really healthy lung and a really half dead lung.
So compared with each other.
Yeah. So like in these teleshopping things, where you have these fitness devices and you see like fat people and like really thin people. That's the same principle basically. People think, wow, if I use that, I will look like this.
Have some observations on them that's showing them a certain good results of a picture that may trigger their interest to be much more better than that.
Yeah. Yes.
First of all, thank you for your talk. I didn't hear the word big data in your talk, but I heard you talk a lot about technology. You didn't necessarily talk about sensors. And what I'm building up to is, you don't like the word persuasion because it sounds negative.
Yes.
But a lot of the Internet of Things is creating more and more data,
Yes.
sensors which help us visualize or understand our environment or what we're doing or how we do things. So my question to you is, how is data that's coming from all of these devices, sensors, going to change how we visualize the world around us?
It hopefully will get better. So my vision is to have large dashboards where I can visualize all the data that is collected. And I always hear people talking about that, but they never showed me. Or I was never really able to get that really infographic style information about myself. So what I like to have is, it could be an app, right? An infographic, just Marc, showing my whole life in details in really nice visualized data from all the data that's collected from all sensors. And when I have that, I wouldn't even allow Facebook to use that for marketing. But I need that infographic and I have to be satisfied with it. But I had the word big data in the...
Okay, I didn't say it. I must have been tweeting.
You also at the beginning so thank you for your speech. You also at the beginning you mentioned one of the world challenges is fighting terrorism. How do you see big data and data transparency related to that, and what are the dangers of that as citizens?
I don't see, I see more opportunities than danger in that, because there are a lot of approaches for predictive, like this predictive crime analysis. So if you have large data that can also be collected via social media, Facebook, are there ways to predict if you maybe become a terrorist or if you have the predisposition to become a terrorist? So can you extract factors that make you more susceptible in joining a terrorist group? So I don't like to see the negative side of these large.
But we should.
Data. Yes, sure, but someone else should. No. It's data because all the data is not secure, and we know that, and we ignore that. And we still keep on sharing and collecting data and tracking data. So we throw our data away, and people could use that for terrorist attacks to predict where crowds will be to make terrorist attacks more effective. Like data can not only be used for good purposes.
But then we end up having the recons from Minority Report, right? So.
I think we're starting to get there.
We don't need these precons to do that, but we can predict a lot out of the data. So, and I think we should be much more aware if you have all these data silos in Internet of Things concept, that we should talk way much more about where we're going to store the data, who owns the data, and how we going to secure that data.
Data security, definitely.
If there are no more questions,
I just want to have a comment. When we talk, terrorism is a systemic issue, so it's hard to let's say terrorism is one thing. But back to visualizing, if we have sensors, whether it's social sensors, whether it's technological sensors, you can get a pulse or a feeling of how society is. And that health measurement could be people shinting on the U-Bahn, or it could be what people are writing on social media, or just listening. I mean, this surveillance culture is going to just become more persuasive when we have Internet of Things. And then if you look at an issue such as terrorism, it's just a matter of, if you see unemployment rising in one part of the world and there's no future for them, and they don't have normal weapons, so they're going to probably engage into something called terrorism, because that's the only alternative.
But I think governments profit as well on that term terrorism, to have give less civil rights and have more. The reaction of Cameron on the events in Paris was to forbid encryption, which is completely ridiculous because you can't, like a WhatsApp or a Trima, you can't close walls in the UK. But that was his reaction, and that's scary if you start forbidding encryption.
Yes.
So. And I think you can use terrorism as an excuse, but if the government, and if you want to stay in power as a government, then you're coming very close to these books that we all read at school, where these regimes have been predicted, and we should take very much care of that, that we are not ending up in that situation where it's too late to react. So, at least I'm perhaps paranoid, but I hear way too less discussions or statements on that, and I'm an IT guy myself, so I love technology and I love the adoption of these things, but we should take that in account as well.
Yes, so I will sign that.
the time is late. Thank you, Marc.